What's up, guys? Tom Haney here. I'm going to take you through the steps on creating a basic visual effects breakdown. Now, if you don't know what that is, I'm sure you've seen them before, you just didn't know what they were called. Basically, it's a video that shows all the layers of work that you put into a project. So, the clip we're going to work with is this one right here. You can use your own project to follow along. It will be very similar. Here we got our guy comes in, fires off his gun a couple of times, and that's it. Pretty short and sweet. So the first thing we're going to do is I'm going to render this composition out so we have that full video to work with. Already got my work area is set up as the entire comp. So I'm just going to go Command Shift question mark and set up a render of this. We're going to go best full here, work area only. That's all right because it's the work area is set up as the entire comp, so everything should be good. Say okay to that. Lossless. I want to try and keep the size down as much as possible, so I'm going to render out as a QuickTime with H.264 compression. Say OK, say OK. And I'm going to call this my main comp. Find a place to put this. And it's going to go right there. Render it out. The magic sound, huh? Okay. Now that we've got that done, we're going to bring that video here into After Effects. So Command I is the shortcut to import. Navigate over to, over to our folder. Here it is, main comp. Open that up. So this main comp is going to serve as the introduction, so to speak, to our VFX breakdown. We're going to make a new comp with that. I'll just drag it down here to the new comp icon and hit that space bar. You can see we have exactly what we had in the composition. There we go. All right. So now we need to decide on a spot to begin our breakdown. And I think when he's firing the gun is the best choice. Yeah, kind of like that one. It's a little explosive look here. All right. So I might need to adjust how long in time this composition here is, but this will serve as the beginning, and I'm going to go ahead and trim off this clip right here where we're going to do our breakdown at. So I'm going to select the layer and hit Option, right bracket. That will trim it off. And also you want to be working in frames only. Makes things a lot easier, especially for anything to do with compositing. So where all the action is going to happen is here at frame 82. If you are not looking at frames here and you're looking at time code instead, then you just hit Command and click that number, and it will change back and forth from frames to time code. But let's keep it on frames. And again, at frame 82 is where we want to have everything happen. So we're going to go back over to our composition, our main composition that we just did our render from, and we want it at frame 82 as well. And what we're going to do is, if we look at this, we got a number of layers in here, a couple of pre-comps in here. We are going to go ahead and turn everything off except for the video of our guy here. And that is this layer here. So, no, this one here, sorry. I'm going to turn all these off. Turn off my background, turn off this color correction layer I've got there, my interactive lighting, the reflected light from the muzzle flash. Turn that off. Got some smoke there, the actual muzzle flash itself, and I got like a vignette and some letterboxing happening there. Alright, so I only have this one layer showing. I'm also going to go into the effects I have on that layer and turn those off. And I think just to keep everything nice and clean looking, I'm also going to go into these masks that I've got on this layer that I use to remove some tracking markers and some other stuff in the background. And set them all to none. There we go. Alright, so now we see that original piece of footage that we started with. And what I'm going to do is right here at frame 82 is I'm going to set up a render to render out this frame 82 as a still frame. So just frame 82 is all we're going to render out. And to do that, we're going to go under Composition, Save Frame as File. Now, the default for this will always set it up as a Photoshop file. So we want to come in here and change this up. You could use Photoshop, but I like to use PNG because the file size stays smaller. We don't really lose any image quality, and it still retains any kind of alpha channel information. All right. So we'll save that. And if you want to make it a little bit easier, you can make a template from this and call this PNG render and say OK. All right. Now we just need to find a place to save this to. I've actually already got these saved out in this folder here. So what I think I called this was green. You can see it there, green.png. So I'm not going to actually render that, but that's the way you want to set it up. And you go ahead and hit the render button, let that go, then come back over here and start turning on some of these effects. So if I go back and set my masks back to the way they were, keep hitting that shape, I don't know why. Subtract, get rid of those tracking markers, and I will go ahead and turn my key light back on. I've also got a couple other effects in here from the Red Giant family. They're part of the Composite Wizard. Great tools. Light Wrap and Edge Blur. And then I'll go ahead and render this out again, just like that. Again, I go up to Composition, Save Frame as File, and then I can just click on here and hit my PNG render. And if I click on that again, you can see that it does have all that stuff that I set up previously, so I don't have to come in here and do all that stuff again, right? I can just click on there and select the preset template for rendering that I set up there. Okay, so I'm going to render that one out. Then I'm going to come back over, see what else I can turn on here. Well, what about my background? Well, my background is a pre-comp, so let's go into that layer and see what we got going here. Well, in that layer is also another pre-comp. So if we go inside that one, we can see everything that's happening here. And we'll break it down to its basics as well. So there's no effects on this layer. I just have this black solid creating my shadow. So I'm going to turn that off. I'm going to render this guy out by itself. Same way as before. Composition, Save Frame as File. Then I'm going to turn on my shadow, Save Frame as File, and I got to render these out each time I set up the render, because if not, if I stack up a whole bunch of renders there and then try to render them all out together, they're all going to be the same thing. It's not going to take into account any changes that I made. All right, so once I get those rendered out, I'll go back over to, which one was it? My background main comp, and turn off. I've got some interactive lighting there, and actually I'll save that one like that, but I'm going to use it later on. I'm not going to use it as I'm showing the background. I'm going to wait till I get the muzzle flash coming on in the breakdown. I will turn that off, and this has a bunch of effects on it. So that's the one we just already rendered out with the shadow. I'll just turn on some of these, render out one like that, render out, you can't really see the fast blur, so I won't do one of those, and render out with the blue turned on. Come back over to my main, turn on my background, so we're just going to go through and turn on all these individual layers and any effects that come along with them. So I might want to, when it comes to my muzzle flash, I could have several layers happening in there because there's a lot going on with this. Let's turn it on and turn off these effects. You can see where it started out. It was pretty rough, just a horrible looking shape. But we turn some of these things on, start with that turbulent displace, and again we're rendering all of these out as a single frame. Each time I'm going up here, composition, save frame as file, I render it out, then I come back to this comp, turn on another effect, render it out, turn on another one, render, and just keep going through like this with each little aspect in here. So I want to get that built up in my visual effects breakdown before I start turning on things like this interactive lighting. And if I go back to the background main, I can turn that light back on now, which affects this main comp, as we can see. And again, each time I'm turning something on, I'm rendering it out. So now that we've got all of those stills rendered out, it's time to start assembling our VFX breakdown. So I'm back in here in the main comp that we set up in the beginning with our final rendered movie in it, trimmed off there at frame 82. I'm going to bring in another layer of that main comp, and I'm going to actually freeze frame it there at 82. Freeze frame. So now it's just going to stay that image right there, which is fine from that point on. And I'm going to animate a mask to make this go away. Just grab my rectangle tool, draw a mask, something like that. Set a keyframe here on the mask path. If you hit M, it'll bring that up. And we're going to have that happen about 4 frames down here. Come back over here, select those 2 points and drag them across like this. And what we're going to have happen, yeah, there we go. Exactly what we want. So that's going to reveal the next layer, which is going to be the green. I've already imported all of these stills. You should do the same. Put that guy right below, and when I animate this mask to reveal, it reveals the green screen version of that shot. Okay, so at this point, we're going to let our viewers see this, you know, like maybe for a second, half a second, depends on the song, the music that you have playing along with this, and how much you need to show. So I'm going to have it reveal this for about 15 seconds. I mean, a half a second. 15 seconds would be a little bit long. And this is shot at 30 frames a second, so I'm going to go ahead 15 frames. That's where I got that from. And this will be where my next review will happen. And to do that, I'm going to use this same mask right here. Copy that and paste it right into here. And it takes along all the animation. Hit M. So it takes that mask away. And next we want to see the keyed version. That's going to go right here. As we take that mask away, it reveals the keyed version of that shot. I don't want to bring in these ones with the interactive lighting on them yet. I want to wait till I build up the muzzle flash. So maybe next comes in the background, which I guess is this one. You could have it happen in the same exact way we've done these others by just having a reveal, or we could actually animate this wall to come sliding in from the side or drop down from the top. So I think I'll do that. I will open up the position, and we're going to move this over here. We'll set a keyframe on the position, and we'll have this happen pretty fast, maybe 4 frames like we're doing our reveals. Move this guy back into place here. Right there. And maybe even turn on some motion blur. Let's just see how all this looks so far. Yeah, okay, so we got that building up nicely. Looks like we're starting to run out of space in our comp, so I'm going to go into the comp settings by hitting Command K, and we'll just make this like 300 frames long. Oops. 300. Give us some room to work with. And keep doing this. So there's stretch all these out too to make sure we are seeing them throughout. There's our wall come in. Again, we'll see that for a half a second. So 124, 139. And then we'll have these different versions of the wall turn on. We'll bring in the blue wall next, and we'll go back to copying these masks. And I'll paste it onto the dark wall. Again, so it animates to go on. Show our blue wall. We go forward 15 frames or so, and we're going to bring in the dark blue wall. We already have that mask copied, so we're going to paste it onto my blue wall here, which will do a reveal of the dark wall. And I'm not going to do this lit one yet because I want to start bringing in the different versions of the muzzle flash. Okay, so I've gone through and brought in all my different stills. I have masks animating over all of them in one way or another. If we scrub through, kind of see what we got. We start out with that main video, freeze frame, go to the green screen, breaks it down, See all our different assets come in, being revealed. So here at the end, let me get there, where everything's just going to turn off. Now we'll go ahead and bring that main video back in again. Our main comp. Bring that here on top of everything. Right at that same point that we finished off, which is right about there. And I'm going to trim off the beginning part. Again, option left bracket. So after our breakdown happens, it goes back into the main video, and that's where we would end things. So that's at frame 348. Go in and adjust my comp, which didn't seem to do anything. There we go. And now if we watch the whole thing, see everything get built back up to the final version, and it goes back into motion. So those are the basics. You could do the same thing by rendering out short clips of video, so it doesn't still frame at any point. It just kind of moves through and reveals all those layers as a moving video. This is the most basic of it. If you're going to be doing any kind of 3D work in Cinema 4D, Maya, 3D Max, you should show all those different layers too. Show the wireframe version, show the shaded version, the textured, and the final composited version. Hope that helps you, and we'll see you next time with more goodies.